You're listening to the Bear and the Beard podcast. We're just two nerdy guys talking nerdy things. I'm Robert, the Bear.
And I'm Brian, the Beard. Each week, the Bear and I explore a new topic related to nerd and or pop culture.
We believe there's always a nerdy opinion to be given, so we sit down each week and discuss a new topic.
And we may disagree or argue sometimes, and you may not always agree with us, but please remember at the end of the day, this is mostly our opinion with a little bit of research and fact added in.
And most importantly, the main goal is to have fun. So let's just go ahead and get into it. You ready, brother?
Sure am. Let's get nerdy with it.
Here we go.
So, okay, I love the Golden Girls, and I know you guys have probably seen a few episodes, right? Like, okay, if we had to break down who was in each Hogwarts house, like, I'm going to tell you right now, Rose is a Hufflepuff. Like,
oh, absolutely. Like, and Sophia is, like, the most Slytherin of us all. I don't care.
Definitely.
I like it.
Like, but, I mean, what is Blanche?
Ravenclaw.
Yeah. Who's the other one? Who's our thirsty girl?
Dorothy was our Gryffindor.
Yes. So, like, all I'm going to say is, like, they have, like, a house within a house. Like, the house is within the house. Did I say that right?
Because there's the four of them, and they perfectly break into, like, one in every house.
Right?
Hey, Bri, I got a question for you.
Hey, bro. What's that?
Why aren't there more solo female hero movies in Nerdom and Pop culture that don't over-sexualize the female gender? Right, exactly. We don't even know where to begin with a topic like that.
But thankfully, we know some awesome ladies who do.
So join us as we welcome your guest host for this week, Orey, Mama Bear, and the ladies from the Unwell Nerd podcast. They have agreed to tackle this topic with us.
That way we don't mansplain.
Yeah.
Right after these announcements.
Please stand by.
Stand by.
Hey there, listeners and or viewers, both returning and new to this week's Nerdy Discussion.
Yes, welcome. Real quick, we wanted to give you just a few announcements.
That's right. We always put them here at the beginning of each episode so we don't distract too much from the topic at hand later on. So we're going to get these out of the way. Bear with us.
Firstly, a huge thanks to everyone for downloading, listening, rating, and reviewing the show. We really appreciate the love and support, and your sharing and rating helps us to get more listeners.
If you enjoy this or watching it, don't hoard it like a sneaky little niffler.
Or that stingy dragon Smog.
That's right. Please, please, please share it with all the other nerds you know, friends, family, all of them.
And you can also find our podcast right now pretty much everywhere you find podcasts. And that's all thanks to Buzzsprout.com, who we thank so much for supplying our episodes to all the other platforms each week.
And for video versions of our episodes, go check out our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Just search the Bear and the Beard podcast or click the link in the episode description.
We also want to invite you to talk nerdy to us. And for that, we have several different options.
That's right. There's the website, the www.thebearandthebeardpodcast.com. No spaces, no hyphens. Brought to you by Wix.com and created by our Bearded Bear team member, Mama Bear.
There's also our email, thebearandthebeardpodcast@yahoo.com. And you can text or leave a voicemail on the Nerd line, which is 769-208-4079.
And let's also not forget the Facebook page, The Bear and the Beard Podcast. We want to thank everyone that has already stopped by and liked the page, and we invite you to do the same.
We're proud to report that we've reached over 220 likes so far, and we want to thank everyone who's already shared or interacted with our content as well. If you haven't joined that number yet or stopped by the Instagram page, please do so to stay up to date with all things Bear and Beard.
And lastly, stay tuned for merch coming soon. Shirts, hats, decals, tumblers, and more. Bearded Bear gear will soon be here. I'm wearing one of the hats right now.
That is awesome. Now that that's out of the way, let's get on to this week's topic.
And here we go.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, viewers and listeners, to either back to or to for the first time, the Bear and the Beard podcast. I am Robert the Bear. I am joined, as always, by my majestically bearded, faithful co-host, the bearded Brian guy, the Beard. How are you doing today, sir?
I am ready to sit back and shut up.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Just during pre-recording here,
We
I'm
got
already
some
like,
awesome nerds
I
here.
might need to actually leave the room for this. So
I'm going to sit here and just in awe watch these awesome nerds geek out about questions that we have. Now, that's not to say that we won't talk at all in this episode. We have a few questions and a few things we'll interject. We might mansplain, but most of it is going to be womansplaining. And so we're so excited for you guys to talk about so many questions that we have that we want our listeners to hear about that we can't talk about because we're two white guys.
Well, I mean, we could talk about it. It just would be in bad taste.
It would be terrible. It would be terrible.
That's what I appreciate about you, Bri.
That's what you appreciate about me. So I say right now we just let them introduce themselves and we just kick back.
Yeah. We'll start over here, I guess, on this screen.
I'm Mama Bear.
And then our now kind of frequent person on the cast here.
I'm Orey Kimbler. I run the Facebook group Geeky Vengeance, and I also have my own podcast called The Voice of Geeky Vengeance, where I tell you how to be a geek. No, I'm kidding. Where I explain all the things that's happening in the Gulf South, as well as a lot of nerdy things that are going on, and from a female perspective. Thanks.
There you go. And we're also joined by the Unwell Nerd Nation podcast hosts.
I'm Shelby. And we run on the East and West Coast, so we kind of hit both sides. We guest with a lot of cons to try to get people into the Nerd Nation. We kind of joke that a lot of us are unwell, so that's kind of why we turned to the nerdy things that we do. Shelby?
No, I think you covered it.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, that's what we cover. It's just nerdy stuff to make us feel better.
And now y'all are on the East Coast and the West Coast for y'all's podcast. And now, thanks to being on here, we run mostly Central. So now you'll be pretty much everywhere. Hopefully.
Coast to coast.
Our listeners should definitely, and this will probably be the last time I actually intentionally mansplain anything. If you aren't already following these podcasts, please go and do so. Now, at the time of recording, Orey hasn't actually gotten hers out yet, but it will be out soon. So
tomorrow, actually.
So there you go.
Sunday, 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven. All right. So, guys, this is y'all's, or guys, ladies, fellow nerds of an opposite gender that is not the same as mine. This is y'all's podcast. We brought y'all together.
We
only have
overhead.
a few things we wanted to ask. So I'll start it off. The main question that got us interested in doing this topic was, why did it take so long for Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow to get her own movie? I'm done now. I'm listening.
So why did it take that long? It's not even just why did it take her that long to get her own movie. Why did it take her that long to get any amount of respect equally that the men characters essentially have? I'm sitting here in a room full of Marvel stuff, as you can see behind me. I have like Avengers things, and the only Avenger that's not included is Black Widow. I think honestly, Black Widow was created for the male gaze and no other purpose. So that is why it took her so long to get any type of recognition, because women are finally talking about it.
Well, one thing that has definitely come up, especially since she was started, she was definitely started as a male gaze. She was included in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to get, Iron Man, RDJ to be, wooed by S.H.I.E.L.D.
Will that be all, Mr. Stark? Yes, that will be all, Miss Rushman. Thank you very much.
I want one.
No.
And that's what she boiled down to. She wasn't given much of a story until how many movies later? And now we're sitting here on opening weekend for Black Widow, and she's finally getting what I'm gonna say it in the nicest way, what she finally deserves with her own movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was so much, it upsets me that there's only going to be, that I know of, one Black Widow movie, because we don't even know if she's going to come back. And there are other things that they didn't cover. There is so much in the Red Room that they didn't cover. They could have made this a story of seeing how she actually grew up and it was 21 years later. And they didn't do it.
I'm watching Black Widow tonight because I haven't seen it yet. But also, you know, listening to people online and social media and stuff, honestly, I think a lot of it, the reason why it took so long to really get a Black Widow movie and why we got it, and from what I'm hearing from people already watching it, this is amazing, obviously, is the fact that she had to die, and then the fans were coming out of the woodworks like, y'all killed her off before we knew anything else about her, before we got what we wanted from it. I think that's honestly what it boiled down to, why we finally got it, is that fan opinion and fans speaking out about you killed somebody off that was true to our heart in this storyline, and we wanted more of her.
I think they didn't even truly recognize how big of a following Black Widow actually had. Because again, they look at the fans that are Black Widow fans, and a lot of them are cosplayers. So what they see is pretty girls cosplaying a pretty character. And that's all it is to us. And that's not all it is to us. So I love how, like, the fandom and even some of the male fandom, like, stepped up and they're like, well, why'd you kill her when you were finally starting to get somewhere with her?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't really, I mean, her storyline throughout all the Avengers movies was pretty much nothing. I mean, she was
love
kind of there
interest
as a backup character, and then they did the weird storyline of her and Bruce in Age of Ultron, where they kind of just made her, like, pining after Bruce and upset that she can't have kids, which was kind of came out of the woodworks.
That was also really offensive.
It was terrible. And when they killed her off in Endgame, it was kind of like, oh, well, she doesn't have a family like Hawkeye does, so she's the one that deserves to die. And I think one, that's kind of a little offensive. And
then she kind of made the decision on, you know, to sacrifice herself for her family, because that's what the Avengers did become for her. Like, she sacrificed herself for her friend, you know, Hawkeye. And I kind of have to give a little bit of that to her, because, you know, even though she couldn't have a family, like, you know, birth kids, the Avengers and everything that came with it became her family.
And I'm not mistaken, Hawkeye named one of his daughters after her, right? Yeah.
Son.
So it wasn't just the Avengers that was like her family.
Sorry, just to be correct, it started out that they thought it was going to be a girl. Right. She was going to be little Natasha. She was named Little. He was then named Little Nathaniel Pietro Barton.
Thank you. Okay.
Sorry. Did we just get mansplained?
We did just get mansplained, as if we did not know that.
Thanks for mansplaining, Bear.
Thank you.
It's not mansplaining if it's a fact.
Well, I said it ended up being a boy. I didn't say that it was always a boy.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm just loving this.
But I mean, one thing that I definitely always liked about Natasha, though, and what they kind of started to give her when, you know, after the snap, they gave her charge. Like, she took charge of the Avengers, and she was trying her best at what she could do in order to keep things going and try and, you know, still save the world. They gave her that character arc, which I thought was fantastic, but was cut short.
Right.
Yeah.
She definitely took charge, and she had so much that she would have been able to give. And, like, I honestly believe, and I'm not an anti-Hawkeye fan. Clearly, if you watch our podcast at all, I do like Hawkeye. Shelby's the anti-Hawkeye, but I do like him. And I feel like he literally was kept around, not because he had a family, he was kept around to introduce Kate Bishop. So why do we need him to introduce Kate Bishop? I mean, I know that their storylines are interlaced, I get it, but he's going to end up dying eventually here anyway. I would bet money that he is going to die in Phase 4, so Nat died for no reason. Other than, like, she sacrificed herself, like, she did the right thing, whatever, but to the fans, she died for no reason.
Well, it was originally him anyways. It was originally to make it her.
Yes.
Honestly, I think it made it more impactful. Like, I hate to say it like that, but I wouldn't have cared if Hawkeye got offed. I liked him. He was a great character. But it made it more emotionally impactful, considering everything that we've been through in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that it was Black Widow.
It would have made it more impactful, but here's the thing. Endgame was nothing but impactful. We lost Iron Man, basically lost Captain America and Natasha all at the same time. I think it would have given her more of a storyline because Clint was her best friend. She wouldn't have been who she is without him, so it would have made her character grow, essentially, and we had a ton of impact. We didn't need the triple whammy of losing all three of them at the same time.
But we honestly, with the ending of their I hate to say it like this, it was the ending of their contracts in a lot of ways. RDJ, he was gone. Captain America, Chris Evans, he was gone because the ending of his contract. I think because the fans, like we were talking, the fan power gave us Black Widow.
That's fair. That's fair.
I agree.
I'd like to interject just one question. While y'all are on the topic of Hawkeye, what was y'all's opinion of how they did Hawkeye in the Avengers movie? It was the first time we really saw him. We saw him in Thor, but he actually is in Avengers. And for them to bring him in, talking about his story as technically a villain first, what did y'all think about that as fans of Hawkeye?
Or not fans of Hawkeye.
Or not fans of Hawkeye, just as Marvel.
I'm a fan of Hawkeye, and that just made it, I don't know, more real that him and Natasha was so close because she was mysterious. We didn't know much about her either. And seeing what he did after the snap and all was just, it wasn't just he lost his family. He lost essentially everybody that he knew and that he grew close to. So, I'm a fan of Hawkeye. I'm a fan of a lot of the superheroes,
think he was ever a villain. I don't think he was ever a villain.
He was an anti-hero.
He was an anti-hero. He was...
Yeah.
I don't
Oliver
think
Queen
they
vibes
ever,
all the way.
I don't think that they ever tried to push him into a place of look, the snap turned him bad. I think it was just look, he lost everything and he's lost his direction. And I love that Natasha, he pulled her out of a dark place before, she pulled him out of a dark place now. And I think that was a perfect round circle moment.
So with Natasha and Hawkeye, the brother and sister vibe that they helped each other so much. We still don't know what happened in Budapest, although I really want to know.
You want to find out,
right? But I think their story is about family and finding family where you can make it. And they found family in each other. And I think that made me want to know more about Natasha in general. I wanted more Black Widow because she was such a mystery and she kept herself closed off, but she wanted a family and she wanted to be together with, not entirely sexually, but together with other people and have something close and bonded because she never had that. But
I just feel right now, other than Captain Marvel and Wanda, because we don't really know what's going on with Wanda. We don't know where she's going or what she's going off to. That's still in the works. We don't know nothing. Everything is fan speculation. With Captain Marvel, she's already proven time and time again, even with Monica growing up, that she's been in space most of the time. She's been protecting other planets. They took our one and only main Avenger that was there on Earth to help these kind of young Avengers who are coming into their own, because even Peter Parker is still kind of lost without Tony. He's coming into his own, but he's not ready to lead the pack.
And I think that's one thing about growing up. With Natasha's death, I really honestly feel that kind of forced a lot of people to step up or really leave the scene. If you lose a family member really young, say your mom, your dad, you're forced to have an awakening moment inside yourself or not be able to survive and grow as a normal human being. And I think that's kind of what Marvel did with the whole shock. Like, it really automatically just, it was a shock to the system. And now all of these people have to figure out how to become. And I think, as much as I hate it, I think we needed it.
I do too, because I do 100% believe that if Natasha was still around, WandaVision wouldn't have happened. Because Nat was the one who was there and basically training Wanda, which I'm a little salty that we never got to see that story arc.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little disappointed that it went from, like, we saw one scene of her training her, but I honestly know Natasha was the main one there, kind of teaching Wanda how to be and calming her back. And then when she lost everybody, including Nat, WandaVision kind of came to be because she was just
the ultimate grief. I mean, that is definitely what Scarlet Witch is. I don't know. Are you guys versed in the House of M storyline from the comic books?
A little bit.
Not very well. I'm trying to learn more.
So in the comic books, after she loses Vision and, like, she goes off the rails, like, you know, as she did, but it was a much darker tone. Like, the whole thing was a mind game played by somebody else for her to kind of, like, build off of, whereas the TV show that we have now was her going through the stages of grief. I don't want to go into it because I know you guys probably want to read it, but the House of M was very dark, and we had more meddling inside Wanda's mind. And you have to go read
about that, yeah.
Oh my god, it's so good. There is a link to, it's like a 3-hour long YouTube video, and it breaks down the whole House of M. If you don't want to go back and read like 30, 50, 1,000 comic books, it does a really good job of explaining the comic book version, and you can see why they couldn't do that on Disney. But I do want to talk about the whole grief segment and why it's powerful for women, especially when it comes to the Scarlet Witch. So what do you guys think of WandaVision?
WandaVision was the one that I was most excited about. Wanda is my favorite character, so it was really cool, like, seeing her finally have the spotlight and watching it all play out. I unfortunately got sucked into, like, all the fan theories. Like, none of them were true.
No, off the wall.
So you thought it was Mephisto. Sorry. All back around.
So, like, WandaVision, one thing I really liked about that, and the crew and the writers, there were a lot of women involved in that. The costuming, especially for the black and white episodes, like, had to be shot in certain colors in order to make it stronger. I want to give a shout out to the costuming department for WandaVision because they worked so hard.
Yeah.
And it paid off.
I want to interject.
Shout out to Catherine Hahn for WandaVision because she just went deep. She went deep, and I am so here for it.
Yeah.
To all the actors and actresses.
She had to make out with Paul Bettany when he's painted blue.
I want to interject one thing along those lines. Shout out to all the characters that played multiple, like, developing arc roles in that show. Mm-hmm. Paul Bettany doing both Visions, White Vision, and his normal Vision, and having to deal with the blue makeup. Catherine Hahn doing the I'm the meddling, I'm the, you know, nosy neighbor, but I'm also this super powerful witch with a plot.
Amazing actress.
Like the mother from that 70s show popping up in that show. And everyone had a dual role because it was their Wanda role and then their real life role. So once that was all revealed, so just shout out to that whole ensemble cast. They did more for I think Disney Plus television, and that's where it started. That's why we have Loki and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because if that didn't work, Disney would have scrapped it.
They would
So,
have. They would have stopped it so fast. But I think it really did just blow up. And I think it blew up not even just because the cast was so talented, but because they were so invested in each other and they were so invested in the fans. Like when they went to the MTV Awards, I don't know how many of you guys watched them. But when I went back and I watched them on YouTube, because I know we want to do an episode just talking about that and how they interacted with each other, they were so into all of the fan theories. They interacted with the fans, like making videos and being together, and like everything that the fans wanted, like they just dove into it. And you don't get that with the actors or the actresses a whole lot, which is why I think like we appreciate so much like those actors and actresses and those characters that they play, which I don't want to get into like something that's totally off topic, but like that's why we love them right now when we're kind of like on Anthony Mackie. Like we're not asking you to agree, just
so
Anthony to agree and give it to us. But just
I just want to like sidebar Anthony Mackie for a second. So he's from the area where I live in New Orleans, and he's been great in some aspects, but a lot of it is he doesn't understand what becoming Captain America is. And it is really, you have to like be involved with your fan base, and that is why we love Chris Evans. He makes everybody feel special. Like when the whole Instagram accidental peen pic, he was so humble and sweet about that whole thing. He's like, yeah, I may accidentally drop one again later. And I'm like, oh God, I love
that. Like, because he tweeted later and he was like, now that I have your attention, don't forget to vote.
Yes, there's so
much. Well, the whole thing with Anthony Mackie is like, I was iffy with him years ago. And I remember talking to Shelby about this before we even started a show, is he did an interview, and I can't remember what show it was on, but he did an interview where he was actually kind of like shady with his fans, where people were like talking about like, oh, what's it like to be in the MCU? What's it like to be like one of Marvel's new favorites? Like, and he was like, when you enter the MCU and you become a superhero, he's like, no one cares about you. He is like, when people see me on the street, they only care about Falcon. Like, they don't care about Anthony Mackie anymore. And he was really, like, sassy and rude about it. And I was like,
dude, so egotistical.
I'm like, dude, without us, you wouldn't have a career. Like, shut up, look at your fans, and say thank you. Like,
shut up, Clarence. Let Rabbit be in the rap battle again.
Right?
I kind of
and then he can cut the check.
I kind of want to look at Anthony Mackie and just be like, oh, honey, you're so much prettier if you'd smile.
That is gonna be
iconic. He does have a really good smile, though.
Yeah, I would like to put up a question while I have a second. I have a question for all of you. I'm changing my question. Originally, it was like, what did you guys think it was? But now I want to know how it made you feel. The so-called woman power moment in Endgame.
I don't know how you're gonna get it through all that. Don't worry. She's got help.
Who got the power?
Okay.
And hold on. And before y'all get into that, I have a tag-on question to that. Do you think Disney is doing the feminist movement properly in what it's doing by doing Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, and Black Widow? So, and that because that started that whole thing. That woman power scene was probably the first time we saw all of that. So
yes and
go.
No. Yes and no. Okay, so let me get started with Brian's original question. So, while I appreciated seeing all of them together, and I thought that was a great moment, and I was like, oh, this is nice. Seeing them together, I do feel like it was kind of like the way that they're just kind of, how do I put this? they're giving it to us because they know we want to see it. So they're
Placating.
give us they're literally giving it to us, a 30-second shot of all of them together and be like, oh look, we're inclusive. But after that, I think that a lot of women fans went to Twitter and Instagram and whatever social medias, and they're like, while we loved it, feel kind of a little like we're trying to please you. Like, we're just going to please you to keep you quiet. But that did, like the bear said, started to roll off and started to give us more female empowerment, more female representation. So do I think it was done poorly the first time? Absolutely. Do I think that they are improving and we love some growth? Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
I agree. I still really enjoyed it though. Like the first time I saw it, I got goosebumps, and I like.
Yeah, I remember sitting in the theater, and I'm like, girl, like I stood up and everything, and like there were other women inside the theater, and we went, girl power, and like we were just really excited about it. Right. But I mean, it really, that's how it felt.
Now, for those of y'all that haven't watched it, definitely go check out the How It Should Have Ended series on YouTube. And I think they said it best. They actually had, because they do like little animated of how the movie, in their opinion, should have gone. And when that scene comes up in their how Endgame should have ended, Brie Larson's Captain Marvel character just looks at all of them and says, "You do all know that I don't actually need you. I'm one of the most powerful, characters in the comics," which is true. So it just, even that kind of showed like, technically it's correct. Yeah, technically it's correct, but that also could then bring us to Brie Larson. That's why I kind of brought that up.
That whole sentence, I had been, if I remember right, Marvel came out before Endgame, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it came out after.
I'm just trying to remember the timeline here. I'm not a big fan of Brie Larson, so I was kind of putting it off. I didn't watch it. I only just recently watched it like a month ago. And then when I watched Endgame, and she said that, and I'm like, I don't want to watch your movie now. I don't want to watch it. I think your ego is too much, and I'm totally turned off by your character, even though I loved you in the comics. You make me want to slap you around.
See, her ego isn't real, though. You have to watch her movie to understand.
I did, and I finally got that. And she's fluffed herself up to like really get that ego kind of like nobody can hurt me kind of feeling. Right. But it did, and I think I did the injustice of not watching the movie the first time, and I really.
The point I would make here, and this can kind of continue this conversation. Let's all remember that she did an interview, and I don't remember who it was with, but she was asked a simple question: "Do you think your character Captain Marvel is worthy of Thor's hammer?" Without hesitation, she automatically said, "Yes, I absolutely do believe that." Now, that, and whether she meant to do it or not, it split the fan base of the MCU, because those of us that like the comic book accuracy are all immediately going, "She's never lifted Thor's hammer. It's never been proven that she's worthy." So, and then there's the other side going, "But she's a woman of power. Of course she's worthy."
But they never asked her, did she do it? They asked, do you think, in your opinion, she would be worthy?
But nowhere in the comic books did it even ever show, because I looked up, it does not show that she even attempted to pick up that hammer. So,
well, I mean, at this point, we gotta. Well,
I loved her in the comic books. I loved the movie. I probably watched that movie more than I watched any other Marvel movie, and I've watched a lot of Doctor Strange. Trying to find all them Easter eggs. But I love Brie Larson. I loved what she did with the character in the movie. I loved her crooked smile, because I got one too, especially when I get cocky about stuff. So I project myself into her character a lot, and I think her character being, all powerful and I'm awesome and I know it, I love that. I would love a little 5-year-old girl to come up and be like, "I'm awesome and I know I am." That's what I see in it.
I agree completely.
I think I let my dislike of Brie herself taint Marvel, Captain Marvel. And
Can I ask why you don't like Brie? Because I've been like dying to know that since you said it.
Well, no, so I don't think she's a good actress. And it's not like I don't like her personality or whatever. I just don't think she's a good actress. I haven't really liked anything that she's been in except for like 1 or 2 movies. And so like I just don't like her acting style. And she's kind of a jerk sometimes to people in real life. And it has nothing to do with her political beliefs or anything like that, but like her ego kind of gets in the way of her building strong friendships, and that started to show. I
always saw her like ego and her jerkiness, because the only time I ever see that come out is when like people challenge her, and I think that they go out of their way to purposely challenge her because they know that she gives a strong reaction and then they can use it against her. And I'm not saying that's like anything that you're doing, but I have seen like where she gets so into women's rights or she gets so into the LGBTQ and they get her fired up, and then they'll turn around and they'll say something backhanded to her and she won't take it. So it's like, I kind of hope one day to be perceived as that type of
well, yes. I lead in a different way. And I think that's why, shout out to Geeky Vengeance, my group. We've been able to have like really good conversations from all spectrums. And I think that my problem with Brie on that is I think you catch more flies with honey than you do poo. And if you turn into a jerk to somebody else, that automatic jerk reaction back, it just perpetuates a whole stereotype that I'm not a fan of.
I will say a lot of the so-called jerkiness that she does is a lot of people misdirecting interviews sometimes. Like there's all kinds of people on the internet who say the other Avengers cast hate her. And they don't. They got no beef with her. It's people misinterpreting these small little interview moments. And some of them are just kind of just awkward moments. And they say, oh, that means they hate them.
Of the toxic fandom. Because people will edit things and turn things around and pin people against each other, and it's all tiny clips mixed together to turn around and be like, oh, Robert Downey Jr. absolutely hates Brie Larson.
For an example of that, I could take like little 10-second clips of every interview that Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan have ever done together, and I could put it to like this harder kind of Bill O'Reilly kind of track. And I could make you actually believe that they actually hate Tom Holland. But if you watch the entire interview in their entirety, it's all a joke. It's all a joke.
And Tom Holland's in on it.
Yeah, and Tom's in on it.
He has some of the best comebacks.
He does. Okay, can we just say, I know this is not, really female based, but Tom Holland is a gift to us all. Thank you.
Yeah. I watched some episodes of the original animated one. I never really got into Spider-Man until him. And now I cannot recall the dude's name that was in the Spider-Man movies now.
Tobey Maguire?
I love him in serious roles, not in Spider-Man. Tom Holland brought me back to Spider-Man.
Tom Holland is everything Spider-Man, and he knows what Spider-Man is. He's pulled him out of the comics for me and sat him down on paper, and I'm just like, thank you, Marvel, for finally doing this to me.
Well,
we need a Spider-Man episode because I have a lot to say in defense of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. We need to do a Spider-Man episode and have a nice debate.
We're going to do the Spider-Man episode in December when I go see Shelby.
Yes.
So we're gonna be doing that right before the movie comes out. But Stan Lee said that Spider-Man personified for him was Tom Holland. Mm-hmm. That when he was creating the character, and while he agreed to let these other movies be made, that when he came across Tom Holland and saw his audition and his rendition, he was like, that's what I pictured in my head.
He's not just Spider-Man, he is also Peter Parker.
He is
And
also
that
Peter
is
Parker.
Yes.
he was able to round out such a beautiful and wonderful character, and he made me feel for him in such a way I never expected. And so thank you, Tom Holland, for being a gift to us all.
That also comes down to casting itself. Like for Tobey Maguire movies, the whole cast was like almost 30. Like
Yeah.
they didn't look like high school students.
So by the
Again,
time
Andrew
they got to
Garfield, by the
start
time
movies,
he
they were
played
grown.
Spider-Man, wasn't he like 24?
Yeah.
So and he was tall and lanky. Yeah, he was quippy, but he just didn't look like a high school student to a lot of us. Tom, now he is a little bit older, but he looks younger.
No, he's not. He's young.
He's 24 now.
He just turned 24.
He
Right.
just turned 24. So when he started in Spider-Man, he was 20. But he always looked like 16, which makes me concerned for myself of why I was so immediately attracted to him.
Okay, it's because he is the ideal Hufflepuff. I'm just gonna put that out there right now.
Yeah.
He's like
Hufflepuff's rule.
Hufflepuff. Go Team Huffy. And my Cthulhu is also a Hufflepuff. But but no, really, it boils down to he was not only able to make you like him as Spider-Man, he was not only able to make you like him as Peter Parker, he made you like him as a human being.
Yeah.
Our sweet bean, our sweet little bean.
I will protect Tom Holland with my life at this point.
I don't want to tell you to move on from Tom Holland, but if y'all are getting ready to, I do want to mention one thing before. Do y'all remember the story about how they prepared him to play Peter Parker? What Disney did? They brought him from Britain over to New York, enrolled him under a fake name into a magnet school, and he had to try to be an American high school student for like a month, I think it was.
Why would I not go to that school?
And the funniest thing was, this is where it started with him and like the spoiler things. They had to pull him out of the school before they wanted to, because he accidentally let it slip to a classmate that he was going to be playing Spider-Man in the upcoming movie.
I love him so much.
He is so precious. I
He's
can't.
precious.
Okay, what was the other thing that we wanted to talk about?
So I wanted to talk about Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey.
Yeah, y'all are gonna get off of Marvel. I'm so happy.
I'm going DC because I got some love and hate for DC. I like the movie. I really wish they hadn't done some of the things. So what do you guys think of Harley Quinn's and the Birds of Prey?
I thought it was great. I thought it was nice seeing her in more of like, I want to say fun role. Like if you look at her role in Suicide Squad, her role was definitely written and designed for a man. And I feel like Birds of Prey was more fun.
It's the breakup anthem.
Harley Quinn in general, if that makes sense.
Shelby, would you say that her role, and this is really for all of you, but since you pointed it out, would you say that her role in the first Suicide Squad was more centered around Jared Leto's Joker than by itself?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And see, that was my main problem with it. And that I didn't like Jared Leto's Joker, but that's me. So
That's a very toxic thing. What's your all's opinion on, like, even in the comics, Harley Quinn and Joker's whole relationship? Because a lot of people online try to romanticize it, like, we need this kind of relationship, but it's not. Yeah.
Therapy. I mean, I know we're the Unwell Nerd Nation, but come visit us, honey, because you need to talk.
Okay. So I've lived the toxic relationship that is Harley and the Joker. And what a lot of people don't understand is you never expect to be in that kind of relationship. She was tricked. She was manipulated. She was made to feel like this was the only man who understood her. And she was made to be the butt of every Joker joke. I mean, that's really what Harley Quinn was. And he's a narcissist, and she was prey. And that's
what really bothers me. And like, this has nothing to do with the live action movies. I want to delve into the cartoon real quick. Is the original cartoon. We were meant to believe that she was this intelligent psychiatrist doctor, and when she turned into Harley Quinn, it's like automatically she just got dumb. Like,
okay, so to kind of say something about that in psychology, so when you are in a relationship with a narcissist, you can be the smartest, most intelligent, most vibrant person in the whole world. But when a narcissist love bombs you, they suck all of that out of you. And you become this person, the shell of who you used to be. And the only thing that's left is what the narcissist allows you to have. So that's pretty much what she became. And I'm speaking from experience on this. You would never think that I was dumb or that I couldn't take care of myself. But when you're in that narcissistic relationship, that's who you become. You become what that narcissist leaves you.
Yeah, I don't even mean it just with the Joker type aspect, because there's the part where her and the Joker were already done and she's meeting other people and out of it, seemingly okay, and she's still acting as though she doesn't know what like basic words are.
Yeah,
because like I've been in a narcissistic toxic relationship too. I've been literally thrown out. I understand totally, and I know it takes time to recover, but I feel like once that person was out of my life and I was able to think for myself again, like I don't know. I don't see how I could go from having a doctorate to being.
Well, she was tormented on a whole plane that we will never understand.
That's fair.
She was beaten. She was dropped out of he kicked her out of a window. And, if it hadn't been for Batman, we wouldn't have Harley anymore. I mean, even in that, like, she was like, oh, I'm done with him. I'm going to be fine. And then at the end of that cartoon, the Joker sends her flowers and she's back at it because there's more love bombing that's happening. And she hasn't been able to break that until the recent comic books.
As a guy, I know that a lot of it also could be writing a woman character for men, because a lot of guys I know really like that. They're really attracted to the dumb bimbo. And I think they tried for a while to make Harley Quinn be that badass, but also in a moment can be the dumb bimbo. And it's like, she doesn't have to be that. But I think that was
what my problem was with it. I think that's exactly where I was leaning toward, is I felt like her brains were written out of it for the sake of men.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I'll interject here. Harley Quinn was actually not invented until the animated series of Batman. She was invented specifically to kind of counteract Joker, because he had already had like 2 or 3 episodes where he was by himself against Batman, and viewers thought it was a little dark, especially for a kids show. So they needed some actual comic relief, something to balance him out. So they gave him a female counterpart. So that might have also been why in the original Harley Quinn was more ditzy than smart. But then she got her own backstory. She started getting comics and stuff like that. The best rendition I, as a man, would recommend to go and watch, if you want to see that Harley Quinn, that smart Harley Quinn that has left the Joker behind, and you don't want to watch Birds of Prey, but you're an adult, because this one has a lot of cursing and a lot of graphic stuff in it. Go watch the Harley Quinn series on HBO Max.
With
where,
yes,
with
I agree.
Penny from Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
It's a great show. They're doing, I think season 3's coming out soon, but she does that whole, there's a part in there where Ivy is trying to get her to realize what the Joker does to her. And she's like, you used to be a doctor. You used to be a psychiatrist. Ask yourself what this person, like, if you asked yourself back then what they were going through. And then they do like this weird flashback thing where she's talking to a picture of herself. And she's like, all right, so I got this friend and she's hopelessly like, and blah, blah, blah. And she runs down the whole relationship with Joker. And then her past self tells her from the picture, oh, that's easy. You're that friend of yours that has all those problems is this and this and this. She's with a narcissist and blah, blah, pretty much everything Orey said. And it's like her wake up moment in that show. And it's actually really good. I like Clayface and King Shark in that too. So they were really fun.
Thank you for your mansplaining.
Stop mansplaining.
Poison Ivy's always been a badass. But back to Birds of Prey. Because we kind of got off the subject of it. I wish my only thing that I really would have changed with Birds of Prey is, like, besides the fact that, like, again, Harley Quinn really in the comics had nothing to do with Birds of Prey. It is what it is. Somebody had said earlier, I can't remember who it was, that they kind of mess with, like, Black Canary. But I wish that it would have spent more time focused on them together, because it feels like them together was only, like, the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie.
Well,
and to me, the best part.
And I'm really hoping they'll give us a second movie, but this is, DC, so we never know. But I really want more of that, like, actual girl power, because that whole last 15 minutes of that movie were phenomenal. It felt like girl power. It felt like, even though we're going to be catty, we're going to talk crap about each other sometimes, we may try to kill each other, but we still, you and me girls, we got this.
Yes.
I'd like to ask this question. Would you rather them give you a sequel to Birds of Prey, or would you rather them actually do her character justice in the new Suicide Squad movie that's coming out?
Both. You can't even choose.
You can't choose.
Pick.
Yeah, you can't.
Because even with the very first Suicide Squad, right back to what Shelby was saying about how she was made more for the male, it was right down to her costuming. The difference is night and day. So if they're going to keep improving her, I would want them to keep improving her both ways. If they all deserve other movies, Black Canary, the Huntress, they deserve other movies. If that involves Harley Quinn coming back and being in the sequel, so be it, because they all deserve that together. There's no way to choose between.
Yeah.
Make them all strong females. I honestly, what I want, and they need to give it to me before I die, is an actual Harley Quinn and Ivy movie. Please.
Margot Robbie's trying to get Ivy. And
Okay, let's cast who Ivy is. Who do you guys think should play Ivy?
Amy Adams.
I never thought of that, but you're perfect. I'm here for it. Like, that, she's perfect. She's got that bubbly, smart personality, and I'm down. But like, you know to take her seriously. What was it, Arrival, that she was in, that whole sci-fi movie? I believe she was a doctor. Let's go with this. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And then, like, Ivy. Okay, I'm writing this down. I'm petitioning this.
Zoe Deschanel.
Zoe Deschanel.
Okay.
No.
As much as I love Zoe and she is my spirit animal, she's not right for this role. No. Like, she's too much of a comic relief. She would be more of a Domino.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Agree. Retweet. Yes.
Retweet.
I could see Zoe. I could actually see Zoe playing Supergirl, actually.
Oh, I could.
As much as an older Supergirl, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I know it'll never happen, but another person I'd like to see Ivy is the girl that plays Lena Luthor in the TV show Supergirl, Katie McGrath.
Yeah.
I love her so much.
Awesome.
I do too.
Because you could be afraid of her and you could buy her in the whole, like, telling Harley that she's being an idiot. Like, she is not afraid to be, like, tough, but she also has, like, that bubbly type, if she wants it. I would, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Emma Stone?
She's too comedic relief.
Ivy? She's not. Doesn't even.
She's beautiful. She's beautiful, wonderful. And I love her. But she is not. She's not.
She can play that dark villain.
Yeah, give her more Cruella.
Give her more villain-esque. But like, when you look at Ivy, yes, she's a villain. But I don't necessarily see that. I think a lot of the female villains in Batman are not all actually villains, because if you look at Catwoman, she's more of like a vigilante type.
She's
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, she's an anti-hero. Same with Harley Quinn. She breaks away from the Joker, and she has a good heart. I think that Ivy is right up there with them.
Well, except Ivy will kill innocent people if it affects the plans. Like, she doesn't care about... That's
So
seriously
does that
a big
make her
thing.
chaotic good? I mean,
It's a
she's
chaotic
doing
good.
it.
You have to look at the spectrum. Somebody take the personality quiz for Ivy. Answer as Ivy and see what we get.
I got this right after this. I got it.
This is
I
not
do.
my pick, but a lot of people online that I've been reading want Megan Fox to play Poison Ivy.
No.
Megan Fox cannot act except for horror movies.
Yes. And
Horror
comedies.
movies.
She's
If it's
great
not
in comedy.
Jennifer's body, I don't want it.
I said that to get everyone's opinion, and boy, did you guys deliver real quick.
I love Megan Fox, and I think she has this sultry. She would be more of a Catwoman feel for me.
So
Like
here's the
that
thing.
whole.
You're playing Selena
It's gonna
Kyle.
lead me
Yeah.
right back to the Brie Larson thing, but like we were talking about people with attitudes who like she has an ego and she doesn't appreciate anything she's got, which is why she was kicked off of Transformers, because she straight up said she was
Can
like, yeah, these movies suck. I'm like,
Even when Megan Fox does good, tell me she's not the same character in everything she's in.
she's exactly the same.
Even when she's right for a film, like she was good in Jennifer's Body,
That's literally
Don't get me
the
wrong.
only thing I've seen
But-
her in, so I don't really.
but
have
she-
things on her.
she still acts the same in everything. It's that same the bitchy whatever it is. It's the
Yeah,
same
but her
character.
eyes are somehow wimpy and doe-eyed. I don't freaking get it. I don't understand.
She's an alien. Nobody can be an alien.
She's not even that attractive.
I mean, she actually has done some, really good things outside of, of movies. Like she does do some humanitarian stuff, and I just don't want to see her in any more movies. And I think she'd be a fantastic Victoria's Secret model. That's all I'm saying.
We're like, you're good
got
at
a
modeling.
killer body.
You're good at like a movie, like music video acting. We're like, why don't you go do that in some charity and we'll be happy with that.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that's my opinion. Everybody else can,
She just
I
needs
totally
to
agree
not
with you.
talk. That's what it is, right? No matter
just
what
needs
she
to-
does, just no words can come out.
I
Not to
think they
sound
just-
like a man, but she just needs to sit down and
Sit down.
smile.
No,
You said it. You said it. That's all that
I can't
matters.
argue
You
with
said
it.
it.
But,
As long as you said it, that's fine.
But Mama Bear just said something. She just needs to be pretty, and I think she can do more than that. They just try to keep putting her in these roles that don't belong to her. And
She's super smart as a person. I just don't know if and who am I? Like literally, who am I? My opinion means absolutely nothing. She's a very talented, beautiful person. She's just not getting the roles and stuff that she would be very talented in.
more horror movies. That's all I'm saying.
And she's put as the girlfriend with not many lines in a lot of stuff too.
Because she's
Stop
pretty.
casting her as the girlfriend.
Like,
Dude,
I
she
give
just
her
did a
one
movie.
big role outside of a horror movie to see if she could hold her own. That is what I hope for. To see if she can hold her own.
She just did a movie where she is in the savannah, big hunt or something like that. What is the name of that movie? But she was actually really good in it. Like she was a badass mercenary type person. I was like, yes. Hold on, I'm looking it up.
Well, while you're looking that up, I'd like to point out, has anyone else ever realized how many of DC's villains, especially Batman's Rogues Gallery, all have a doctorate?
PhD or doctorate?
Yeah.
They have a doctorate or a PhD. Dr. Freeze, Dr. Harleen Quinzel, Dr. Pamela Isley, Dr. Light is an actual doctor of the Flash. Like, there's all these PhDs and doctorates just floating around. Even Harvey Dent, Two-Face, had he had to at least had a bachelor's in law.
So my
And he was
joke
probably-
is, my joke for that is all of the student loans turn them insane. But the Megan Fox movie that was actually fantastic, it's called Rogue, and it reads, a battle-hardened mercenary leads a team of soldiers on a daring mission to rescue hostages in remote Africa. She was good in this movie, and it got a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Good for her.
I have one last question that I want you guys' opinions on. I want to make sure we get this in before we wrap up. What's your opinion on female costumes in comic book movies?
I think when it's a female director and a mostly female produced movie that they're great. Because we can round this right back to Black Widow, which is how everything started off. Is if you look at the difference in her between the posters, you can tell who made what for who. Because in the Black Widow poster for her own movie, she's actually wearing armored clothes. She's patterned. She has a normal, regular, just type stance. Like, she's not posing to accentuate anything. Where if you go back to like Iron Man or whatever, like even in
You see her butt and she's like turned towards
and
the camera.
She's turned, her waist is photoshopped smaller, her breasts are photoshopped bigger, and she's wearing things that aren't going to protect her if she gets hurt. So I honestly think that it depends on the mindset and the person who's directing and who they're directing it for. The director for Black Widow knew what her audience was. Women and little girls who are looking to feel empowered, not men who are looking to get off.
Yeah, I completely agree. Elizabeth Olsen constantly complained about her suit in all the Avengers movies and how it was uncomfortable. She felt uncomfortable in it. She didn't think it was appropriate. She hated it. And they just kept giving her different corsets that just pushed her breasts up more. And her suit in WandaVision is just chef's kiss. Like that.
It's strong and sexy.
Yeah, like, and you could tell that she was feeling herself in it, that she felt like confident and powerful.
Well, not only
go ahead. Sorry. As opposed to kind of just being in a corset and leather leggings.
Which will definitely help you in battle. Just throwing that out there. Like, that's gonna protect the hell out of you.
And to point out, like, the fact that Margot Robbie actually almost walked away from Suicide Squad, the first movie, because of her costume and how uncomfortable it made her feel being in it, having to put it on, being wet in it, like the scenes when it's raining and stuff. It was designed to be skin tight, and that, like,
she not only just walked away from Suicide Squad, but she definitely, they went back and forth for a long time for Birds of Prey for her to agree to do it. She wanted to help produce because she wanted more control and more say, and not only what she wore, but she knew that it was going to be a mostly female cast, and she wanted to make sure that everybody felt comfortable in what they were wearing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll say, Bear and I, we have 4 girls. We have four girls that we want to be nerds and be geeky and stuff like that. And it's been so hard as they've been growing up to really find that character for them to really look into. So, like, we have one of our youngest ones, Batman. That's her superhero. Batman. That girl too, but Batman, because that's all she, was being thrown around when she was growing up, was Batman's everywhere. Batman's awesome. But, like, I can't wait to see the Black Widow movie and see how well it will help to empower my girls, like Captain Marvel felt to me.
I wanted to go back, since we're talking about costuming, not even just in the movies, and so I kind of want to talk about what it's like as a woman to go to con and cosplay.
Okay, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
So, at Mississippi Comic-Con, where I met most of you wonderful people, when I saw the Scarlet Witch and Agatha cosplays, they could move. Like, these were accurate to the show, but anybody who was wearing it, they could move, they could, bend over. They weren't dying, but they were covered, but they were still sexy. Sexy in a way that is completely different than showing cleavage or, a whole other
skin.
Yeah. Like, the 2 that were in the cosplay contest, and if you guys can find the photo, I'd like to put it here. It made me excuse you?
Noted.
Oh, I thought you said no. I was like, okay. But with this starting to happen, cosplay is not consent will be less of a problem. Like, I feel that while I love me some sexy cosplay, I love the original Scarlet Witch costume. It makes me entirely happy. But with this new stuff, we don't have to be sexualized if we don't want to. And if you're sexualizing us, that's on you. You're not going to come try to touch my boobs because they're not uncovered. Fight me. And I will be able to win because everything's covered.
I mean, and in defense, and this is a man speaking to other men, even if they are uncovered, unless she gives you permission,
cosplay is not consent.
Cosplay is not consent. Don't be a dick. That's
and
if
don't
you
stare.
Can't control yourself in public, then get out of public.
I refused to wear my Suicide Squad Harley to con because I wore it to the opening of a movie one time, and I was totally fine in it. Like, I felt comfortable in it. And I literally had a man walk up to me in the movie theater while my friend went to the bathroom. And he was like, you know, like, you shouldn't wear things like that. Like, he was like, no man is going to respect you if you wear things like that. Like, what are you thinking wearing this? And he's like, there are kids here. And I'm like, you're literally taking your kids to see a movie where they're wearing this exact same outfit.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me? So, like, I felt very uncomfortable because he approached me face to face, like this close to me, degrading me about what I was wearing when it was movie accurate. And I have never worn it to con. I haven't put it on since.
I am sorry that happened to you, and I'm sorry that keeps you from putting that outfit back on because that is terrible.
So, all of us here, all the women here, we're behind you 100%, and we want you to go wear that again because I would like to see photos of it.
And if somebody says
Brian's like, I would like to
look at it and be like, you got 2 eyes that can look somewhere else.
Or you can call us and we'll be like, you, bro.
I was like, wait, let me get my friends on here.
And my posse, they got my back. I mean, wear what you want. And if somebody tells you otherwise or makes you feel uncomfortable, that explains more about them as a person than it does you. And I'm sure you look fantastic. And I want to see you go out and wear that again, okay? So
she looks great. She looks great.
So please, at the next convention, I would love for you to bring it out of hiding and wear it again. Okay?
Bring it when you come visit me and we'll do a photo shoot.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea. Yeah, because
By the way, if we could get you guys all to Mississippi Comic-Con next year, that would be freaking dope.
Let us know how we need to help make that happen.
I actually wore a leotard of Captain Marvel, of course, because that's my girl.
Picture here.
Under the morph suit.
Well, leotard under the morph suit. That's what I meant to say. Because I did not feel comfortable wearing the morph suit by itself. But then when I put the leotard on, I felt more comfortable. But I did not feel comfortable until I went to Comic-Con and started interacting with other females, doing their cosplays the way they wanted to do them. And then all day Sunday, I had mine on and I felt comfortable. I didn't feel sexualized at all. And it was, let me tell you, eye-opening, beautiful moment for me.
That's so sweet.
Well, and one thing that we really have to understand is we are now in a different age of, nerddom. And it is definitely being run by everybody, and it's more inclusive. The gatekeeping has kind of stopped. We're working on that, but we are more included in what's happening in fandom all across the. If we're not talking about just about comic books, we're talking about anime. We're getting better representation coming in from the anime and the manga community coming out of Japan and Korea. We're less sexualized there. We're getting better, diversity. We're getting better OC characters that are bringing everybody out of the woodwork. The gates are opening up to all of us. And I think that without, I hate to say it, without the sexualization of women before and us being able to cry out against it, I don't think we'd be where we're at.
I agree. And like, that's kind of why I super really wanted to be a part of this episode. And I wanted to like thank you guys for having us on here, because honestly, so many years have passed where if you're a girl who likes these types of things, if you're a woman who likes to cosplay or likes games, likes comic books, like Star Wars, like superheroes, we're constantly questioned, well, name this, this, and this. So suddenly we have to be double the nerd. We have to know absolutely everything just to be considered a true fan. And
that's actually a
I'm
question.
so happy that's like not happening anymore.
That's a question I would like all of you to answer, if you would. As a woman nerd, our last episode we talked about toxicity in fandoms. It would have been awesome if we had you all there for that last moment so we could ask this. What toxicity have you felt as women from men that you may still feel that you would like to just tell them, this is the shit you need to stop being toxic? We're fans too.
This is kind of the same question I was going to ask to kind of wrap it up, because we are running a little over an hour. But the way we like to joke about it is we know that the executives in Hollywood listen to this show. So if you could speak to all of the internet, because everyone's going to hear that, everyone in the world's going to hear this episode.
Smith, he's in charge of everything.
Everyone, if you could put one thing out in the universe, just like Brian said, like one thing that you personally you wish would just stop, what would that be? Because we know that all the executives listen. Like Kevin Feige has us on download. He's subscribed.
I would put out that everybody starts their journey of nerddom somewhere, and they can start it at any age. I didn't have to start liking this when I was a child to be a fan. When I was a kid, I hated Iron Man. Sorry for my language. I hated Iron Man. My dad wanted to watch it with me. I didn't care. I didn't want to. But as I grew up to appreciate it. And I think only a couple years ago was when I really started to dive into other types of fandom, and I have met a lot of resistance and a lot of questions, and I'm still learning. So I feel if I could put one thing out there, and it's instead of asking people questions, try to educate them kindly and be like, hey, if you don't know about this, do you want to learn? Because I guarantee we'll want to learn, and all you're going to do is like grow a bigger, happier nerd family, instead of toxically pushing people away who could have very much used or enjoyed it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Mine would be that LGBTQ representation does belong in Marvel. Because when Loki came out as bisexual, I cried tears of happiness. It was such a beautiful scene because it wasn't a big deal, but it gave fans what they wanted. And I was surprised by how many people were pissed off about it. Like, saying that it was not necessary and superheroes don't need sexualities. And it was like, he's canonly bisexual, so I didn't understand why there was such a pushback.
In mythology, he's pansexual, so...
In the comic books, there are so many of them that are on the spectrum of the LGBTQ community, and it bothers me that when the real fans who only watch the MCU come on and they're like, that's not how it is. And I was just like, but you just told me I'm not a fan, and yet...
One thing that I wish everybody knew that about fandom, and that I would like to change, please understand... I am into all fandoms. I'm an RPG. I play MMORPGs. I play dice and paper. I play sandbox games. I read all the books. I'm a comic book nerd. I watch all the hero movies. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I'm into all of it.
She's got it all. She's a
So just understand there are so many hours in a day. And I don't have time for all the things I really want to geek out about. So if I don't know everything, understand that I probably learned something else you don't know. I am probably more into why they used red for the red that they used for Scarlet Witch than you will ever be. So understand that not only women, not only the LGBTQ community, not only the men, not only the people who identify as cats, we only have 24 hours in a day. Let us enjoy eating and sleeping as well.
Let us enjoy a life as a whole. Let us breathe. And just let us, like, exist in peace. Like, let us like things.
Don't tell someone they're not a fan. Gatekeeping being a nerd is probably the worst type of gatekeeping that there is.
Oh, and
more than anything, what it's like to be singled out.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna lay this. It'll probably be one of the last things I say. Being a sports nerd is still a nerd.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome to my TED Talk.
Mama Bear, is there anything you wanted to add on?
Well, I think the only thing I'd add on is just, talking about toxicity and stuff, you've got so many people that are super geeky and they know their stuff and they love their stuff and they just, why don't you try something else? Like, you don't like The Lord of the Rings? Have you watched it? Have you read the books? Try it. That's all I want to say. Just try it. You might not like it.
Understand the other side
Like
of the
Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings bores me.
It's okay. We still like you for your beard.
That's like, I had a friend who was like, I hate the Hunger Games. I was like, have you ever seen the Hunger Games? And she's like, no, I just hate it. And I was like, okay, watch it. So I made her watch it with me. And she's like, I really kind of like
hating
it.
something when you haven't even watched it makes no sense.
I have. We talked about this off of recording. Me and Orey and Brian and Mama Bear did. We have our problems with the Hunger Games movies themselves, but the book series was fantastic.
The books were wonderful.
The movies were good. The movies were good. They left out some core stuff, but for a movie,
all the core stuff.
Yeah.
For a movie coming from a book, it was pretty damn good. I could watch it, unlike Percy Jackson, where I wanted to rip my brains out.
I am so sorry to Twilight fans, but like, I would take the Hunger Games movies over the Twilight movies.
I love Twilight.
Okay,
just putting that out there.
I like Twilight too, but I would take the Hunger Games as a movie from book adaptation over the Twilight movies any day. I'm just throwing it out there.
I love watching movies. All kinds of movies. Kids movies, adult movies. I love the Twilight sagas. I wouldn't say it's like my number one, but it is definitely something I'd put on over and over again just to listen to while I'm cleaning. But I'll never sit down and read those books. But I love the Hunger Games.
They're not that bad, actually.
Can I tell you what I want that I feel like we got gypped out of? Rosalie's entire story could have been a book and movie on its own, and I feel gypped.
And Jasper. Like, I could have got more Jasper story.
Yeah.
Just give me more.
Definitely. Well, ladies, thank y'all for being here for this episode. We are going to have to wrap it up. We're about 30 minutes over what we normally record. We might do this again, just later on.
Definitely. I'm putting it out there. We're doing this again.
Yay.
After listening to this episode, we're going to come up with other man questions that need some womansplaining. So we'll definitely.
Not even just that. I want you guys in reviews for a bunch of stuff. I know we're going to have the Unwell Nerdy Nation back for our Spider-Man episode. That's going to be a lot of fun. Ori's going to be back for
something.
This is the third. This is the third episode we've done now since Con that you've been in, so she's becoming a regular.
I keep track of what we're going to ask Orey back for. Ori's going to be back for our Black Widow episode. So, because she's going to watch it about the same time we do. So, yeah.
I've already watched it.
Oh, you already watched it. So, we got to watch it.
Listen,
so,
we're watching it tonight.
Have fun.
I'm watching it tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, definitely appreciate y'all being here. Really, really enjoyed having y'all. Thanks for the womansplaining. And hopefully we didn't try to mansplain too much. For all the listeners our viewers that have made it to the end of this episode, if you didn't like the fact that 4 very powerful, not outspoken women took over our episode. It's our podcast where we do what we want. So if you didn't like it, find another one to listen to, or just skip episodes that say womansplaining in the title from now on.
Don't skip them. No.
No, they need
No,
to
you
listen
need to watch
this.
it. Watch them
Well-
even harder.
But is it also us? But is that also the paradox that then we're opening them up to be trolls to us because they listen?
No, here's
So-
the thing. This is how you find out who's willing to be open and understanding about everything that's happening in fandom. And if they don't want to hear a bunch of like awesome, kick-ass women telling them that, hey, this is also awesome to us, do you really need them?
You
That's all I'm
really
saying.
need
That's true.
Those
But-
are the people
but-
I want to alienate. I'm just saying.
It's kind of that thing though where I want to reach further out and grab them and bring them back in at the same time too, because I feel like they need this more than like me and Brian didn't really need this. Like we already have a lot of the
I feel like
similar
I needed
opinions. Well, I'm
I
married
needed
to
to
this,
watch it.
so
I needed to watch
didn't
this
really
happen.
need it. But yeah, but in the meantime, we'll see y'all next week for whatever topic we decide to do. Because we're recording these out of order. I'm pretty sure. I'm not even sure anymore. I just know what we're recording. I don't know when I'm going to put them out. But in the meantime, check out the Facebook page. Go and check out the Voice of Geeky Vengeance podcast when it launches. Go and check out the Unwell Nerd Nation. Definitely check them out. But in the meantime, links in the description and all that. I've been the Bear.
I've been the Beard.
We want to remind you, as always, to stay awesome.
Stay bearded. And much love.
And much love, guys.
Much
We will see you
love.
next week.
Much
Bye,
love.
Orey. Bye, Tempe. Bye,
Thank
Shelby.
you.
Thank you, Mama Bear. We love you guys. We'll see y'all next time. Until then, we are out.
Boom, cut the check.
All right.
Whew. Another episode done. Thank you so much for listening.
New episodes are released every Friday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. So check back each week or subscribe on your device so that it downloads automatically.
Apple users, please don't forget to rate and review on the app. And you can also now review us on Facebook. This helps us find more listeners, or more listeners find us.
As always, the links to the Facebook page, email, Nerdline, and website can be found in the episode details so you can talk nerdy to us. Your ideas or feedback may even be shared in future episodes.
Lastly, a huge thanks to the rest of the Bearded Bear team.
Our graphic designer and head researcher, Mama Bear Christine,
Our master of marketing, Han Brolo Matt.
and all of our geeks of the round table. Brocius Mayo, my guys.
Hey, Brocius, my dude. We'll talk at you next week, nerds. Till then, stay awesome
Stay bearded.
and much love. Bye.